Hi. Oh, excuse me. Well, hi. I'm back at regular times, even though I overslept a little bit for this one today. But I'm back. No more gorilla time. Making green. And banana, angel, and the pass. I hope you're all doing right. And yeah, as you can see, we're going on strong this Monday with rimworld. My guy, calm the fuck down. I didn't even initiate the fucking toolkit yet. Chill. Oh no, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Okay, never mind what I said, we're not going on strong with rimworld. In case you didn't see it, this fucked up hut. That's not supposed to be. I didn't change anything in rimworld from the last time we played. So that's not good because everything I click and like hover over with my mouth, it's gonna stay like this and it doesn't go away. And I can't even go into the menu, the escape menu. Yeah, I also would have thought of that already, banana baguette. But here's the thing. Restarting rimworld takes an hour. Jesus fucking Christ. I didn't change anything. Why did it happen again? Okay, I adapted the stream title. You're right. We're just gonna watch some stuff on the side. Actually, we're gonna continue. What happened? The HUD, the heads-up display in the UI of rimworld were bugged again, and I didn't do anything. So unfortunately, no rimworld today. Again, I'm pissed off. I must still say you broke it. Ah, fuck off. For an hour, yeah. Takes up for, well, we're not gonna watch YouTube for an hour. Here's the thing. When I have to start up rimworld, I can't like have anything running in the background. So yeah, I can actually restart the video. We didn't get really far into it anyways. Basically, what we're watching on the side is the entire lore of Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid franchise, which I'm a big fan of. And yeah. So in the meantime, I'll play. Uh, oh yeah, the game update came for Schedule 1. The content update. I'm gonna be playing that.
Alright, it's time to tackle this behemoth. A game series whose story is utterly absurd, but nonetheless, is still a work of absolute genius. Also, this video has been a long time coming, so I'm sorry for the delay.
Kept you waiting, huh?
In this video, we're looking at the entire story of Metal Gear, or at least its core saga, anyway. Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1 pretty much defined my childhood as a gamer. Coming out on the PlayStation in 1998, Metal Gear Solid was a follow-on to two previous games from Kojima and Konami, Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, which were originally released on the MSX2. Then in 2001, Metal Gear Solid 2 came out for the PlayStation 2, which saw a different protagonist for the majority of the game, Raiden. After that, the franchise went all the way back to the beginning of its timeline with Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater in 2004. The next generation of consoles then saw Konami and Kojima develop and release Metal Gear 4 Guns of the Patriots in 2008. After that, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker released in 2010, which was initially on the PSP, but later came to other consoles via the HD edition. We then got Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes in 2014, and that itself was a short prologue to 2015's Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Then came the bitter breakup between Metal Gear mastermind Hideo Kojima and Konami. Their 3-decade partnership had come to an end. Kojima had to leave Metal Gear behind. Konami did try to make their own Metal Gear game, Survive, which was interesting. But we do have a Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remake coming soon. It'll be interesting to see what Konami do with that one. In terms of Kojima, well, he went on and developed and released Death Stranding, and we are getting a sequel, Death Stranding 2, at some point. But anyway, we're here.
I also have to play that. Maybe I actually can continue that tomorrow, since rimworld is cancelled.
Apart from Survive,
if I can't get it to work tomorrow.
Multiple ops won't be in this video either, because of some issue with timeline and canonicity. A follow-up video will be coming too at some point, explaining the story of Metal Gear Rising, as it's a spin-off title. Finally, please be aware that there will be spoilers in this video for the entire Metal Gear franchise, but with that being said, grab a drink and some snacks, and let's begin. Let's start by introducing ourselves to Jack. Jack was born in 1935, and fresh out of his teens, Jack joined the military. He fought in the Korean War and eventually fell under the mentorship of the Boss. The Boss fought in World War II with his 22nd SAS Regiment, which he actually formed alongside fellow soldier David O. Anyway, Jack and the Boss worked closely together and developed a fighting style known as CQC, which stands for Close Quarters Combat. Jack would view the Boss as a sort of motherly figure. In '54, Jack was a test subject and present at the testing of the H-bomb detonation on Bikini Atoll. Most of his friends and colleagues developed cancer and radiation poisoning as a result, but Jack did not. However, Jack did become sterile. He parted ways with the Boss in 1959. He served in Vietnam and in the US Special Forces and learned various methods of urban survival. During his years in the Green Berets, Jack would earn many commendations. He would then join the covert ops unit called Fox, earning himself the codename
Voices of the Void is scheduled for Friday.
Since the first game in the timeline, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. It's 1964, and the USA and the USSR are in the
Meh. I'll go try about it.
A operation known as the Virtuous Mission is taking place, and Snake, under the command of David O, codenamed Major Zero, is being supervised by the Boss and supported by a Dr. Clark, paramedic.
I can already hear you. Wah.
Low opening jump.
But like with a Russian tone to it.
Snake lands in the Soviet region of Tselinoyarsk. The region itself is crawling with Snake is there to extract a Soviet scientist named Nikolai Sokolov. 2 years prior, in 1962, the US government learned that the Soviets had deployed troops inside of Cuba, but the Soviets ended up withdrawing them later as part of a deal.
I already have Oscar unlocked.
The deal was for Sokolov, who had previously defected to the US, to be sent back to his homeland. But the US underestimated the skills that Sokolov had that would be very useful. Avoiding crocodiles and Soviet soldiers, Snake makes it to Sokolov's location, an abandoned factory. He sneaks into the factory and finds Sokolov. He's burning some papers. He mentions a Colonel Volgin of the GRU, which is Russian military intelligence. Volgin is someone who is known to the CIA as Thunderbolt. Now, it's important to know that sometime before this, Volgin had learned of something called the Philosopher's Legacy. The legacy was something that was held by a secret society known as the Philosophers, who themselves used to be called the Wise Men's Committee up until World War II. The legacy itself is a secret fund to, well, fund illegal activities. It was a fund made up from the money of powerful people all over the world, including China, the Soviets, and the US, and was collected during World War II. At the time Operation Snake Eater takes place, it was thought to have been worth around $100 billion. Volgin's father was
doing well,
the man who was in charge.
You can give yourself a shout out.
Legacy. During World War II, the philosophers lost track of these funds.
I'm busy skating.
War, so Volgin
I'm sure you can understand.
took them for the Soviets and laundered the money through various banks around the world, with the transactions being stored on a microfilm. And Volgin Jr. found the microfilm and inherited the funds illegally. It's not exactly clear what the current status of the Philosophers is at this point. But at some point, Volgin had learned of the philosopher's legacy through the microfilm, and of course, he learned about the huge amounts of funds. He used these funds to construct a massive fortress in the mountains of Selinoyarsk, and called the fortress Groznygrad, which means terrible fortress. He also used the funds to bankroll the development of weapons and tanks, and he also converted an abandoned prison into a weapons design facility, hiring a Soviet weapons scientist named Alexander Granin. Now this part is crucial. Granin was hired to bring life to Volgin's designs for some sort of walking tank. However, Granin struggled to bring this to fruition, so after Volgin learned of the development of a weapon named the Shagohod, he wanted that instead. Since the Cuban Missile Crisis in '62, First Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, Nikita Khrushchev, had been trying to pursue a peaceful policy of coexistence with the West. Naturally, certain sections of the Russian military were not happy with this policy, but despite this, Khrushchev had managed to suppress any opposition. However, failures of other policies, along with the assassination of JFK, his biggest partner, had seen his tenure come under threat. One particular group, the Brezhnev faction, are using the opportunity of Khrushchev's waning influence to take power and are planning to overthrow him. Volgin himself is the mastermind of this plot. As I've mentioned, the reason Volgin is there in Selinoyarsk is for a weapon, a tank known as the Shagohod, a nuclear-armed tank, and it's a weapon that could effectively end the Cold War. Sokolov had been developing it under the orders of Khrushchev and had become terrified about the potential of this weapon and its uses, to be able to launch an IRBM into the United States of America, and that is why he is seeking to defect to the US. Volgin wants the weapon, and Sokolov, hence why the soldiers outside are so plentiful, to prevent Volgin from taking
that's
Sokolov.
the point. Is that I mentioned
some context.
No, it's an entire Metal Gear Solid video.
Sokolov compliments Snake on his Russian.
The video goes for about 8 hours.
Boss. A call with Major Zero sees him state that they've lost contact with the boss. Nonetheless, Snake is to escort Sokolov to the rendezvous point. Someone is there with them, though. They end up surrounded and someone else shows up. One of the soldiers identifies him as being the commander of the Ocelot unit of the Spetsnaz. He's Gru, and his name is Major
It's
Ocelot,
for ADHD people?
and he's there to capture Sokolov. A face-off occurs,
Yeah, for me
and
too.
Ocelot takes out all of the soldiers, showcasing some very good shooting. Ocelot calls for his men and they surround Snake and Sokolov. He recognizes Snake's stance as one he's seen before, from the boss.
I would like just showing
Ocelot's
people
gunman
what's gonna...
jams. A rookie error to use a strange
What
technique
they have to expect
and Snake
doing
gives the young man some
once
advice.
Konami
Use
finishes
revolvers
the
instead.
second Master
Snake
Collection.
then incapacitates Ocelot and his men. Sokolov has run off, so Snake needs to catch up to him. A little further along, he reconvenes with him.
You okay? Those men were from the Ocelot unit, Spetsnaz. Yes. The best crew has to offer. They're coming for me. I'm finished.
Calm down. I'll get you out of here, I promise. And we've got some of the best backup we could ask for.
Look.
That's what they were making you build.
Yes. The Shagohod. The treading behemoth. A tank capable of launching nuclear IRBMs.
It can launch nuclear missiles from that kind of terrain.
Oh, yes. And without support from friendly units.
A nuclear-equipped tank capable of operating solo. Is that thing finished?
No, this is only the end of Phase 1. It won't be truly finished until we complete Phase 2.
Phase 2.
The weapon's true form. If it is completed and the Colonel gets his hands on it, it will be the end of the Cold War.
The end of the Cold War?
Yes. And then the Age of Fear will truly begin.
World War.
I had no choice but to cooperate. I didn't want to die. I wanted to see my wife and child again in America. Please, take me to America, quickly. They cannot complete it without my help.
Got it. Let's go. boss.
Good work, Jack.
What are you doing here?
Sokolov comes with me.
Hornets.
Actually, they're wasps.
My friends, let us fight together again.
I have waited long for this day.
We will fight with you once more. Welcome back, boss.
Now that all 5 of us are together, it's time we go to the depths of hell itself. It's raining blood. Is he crying?
Kuwabara, Kuwabara.
Oh, wait, I forgot the soil. Fuck.
Ah, what a joyful scene.
Colonel Volgin.
Welcome to my country. And to my unit.
Boss, what is this?
Oh yeah, Ellie, look. I'm playing the new update. And we got what I wished for. A pawn shop where we can sell our shit.
Recoilless nuclear warheads. These will make a fine gift for me.
And the new ATM to smash.
Who is he? Another one of your disciples? We take him with us?
No, this one is still just a child. Too pure for us cobras. He has not yet found an emotion to carry into battle.
What are you talking about?
Think you can pull the trigger?
Ouch.
He's seen my face. We can't let him live. If Khrushchev finds out about this, we're finished.
Oh, hi, Romy.
Wait. He's my apprentice. I'll take care of him.
Yeah, that's fair.
The new blood has been rejected. Are we done here?
You're gonna be fucking kidding me.
Now, onto Sokolov's research facility.
Shagohod is ours.
A badly beaten, bruised, and injured Snake comes to on the bank of the river with his commander trying to reach him. He tells them about the boss's defection to the Soviets, and they help him get himself patched up. A little later, Snake sees a group of helicopters airlifting the Shagohod and taking it to Volgin's fortress. He has everything he needs now. The Shagohod and Sokolov. Ocelot is on board and he smells something. It's the perfume of someone else on board, Tatiana, a KGB operative, and Sokolov's lover. Volgin takes a kiss of death off of her, a firearm disguised as lipstick, but then gives it back to her, stating that they can use her. Using his gift from the boss, the Davy Crockett launcher, despite pleas from Ocelot not to kill their countrymen, Volgin launches the US nuke at the research facility where the Shagohod had been developed up to that point and completely destroys it. Snake's lift arrives and then he is taken back for debriefing. The CIA seriously consider executing Snake along with Major Zero for what they deem to have been a catastrophic outcome, coupled with the fact that they believe that Snake may have been involved in the boss's defection. With the Soviets wanting full assurances that the nuclear bomb directed at their research facility was not fired by the US, since the aircraft and the nuke being fired from it was a US nuke, Snake would be sent back in to eliminate the boss. The stakes are higher this time, as if Snake is unable to eliminate the boss, then he and Zero will both be killed. But while Snake is on his way back into Selenoyarsk, let's cover a bit of background on the boss. The boss is known as the mother of US Special Forces. Remember I mentioned the Wise Men's Committee earlier on? Well, the boss is the daughter of one of the higher ranking members of the committee, the last remaining child of the philosophers. Later on in her life, the boss would become an instructor at what was now the Philosophers' Charm Schools, training camps that developed spies with the idea of infiltrating foreign countries. During World War II, the boss became an advisor to the Special Air Service, the SAS, and that was where she met Major Zero, with the two forming the 22nd SAS Regiment. In 1942, the boss would then lead a new unit during the Battle of Stalingrad. This unit would become known as the Cobra Unit. There'll be a bit more on the Cobra Unit later on in the video. In November 1951, the boss was participating in atomic testing in the Nevada desert, and what she witnessed affected her. Snake being a test subject on Bikini Atoll is what drew her to Snake. They were both slowly being eaten away due to other people's karma and won't ever get the chance to die of old age peacefully. In 1960, the boss saw what she deemed to be a perfect future. This was after the Soviets had managed to launch their Sputnik satellite during the space race. She speaks of the USA's panic and NASA's subsequent Mercury program, in which they experimented using chimpanzees in rockets. Meanwhile, the Soviets were planning to send the first man into space. The US wanted human data, so they secretly sent a human being into space, beating the Soviets to it. They chose the boss. Her being sent there meant that she would be exposed to high levels of radiation. Since she was involved in the atomic testing in Nevada, she was already irradiated. Anyway, from space she saw the planet, and she realized that space exploration is just another game in the power struggle between the USA and the Soviets, as was the entire Cold War itself. She thought that in terms of the Earth itself, communism and capitalism aren't really that important. But the people in power couldn't, or wouldn't, see it the same way. The following year, the boss had been sent to Cuba, and this was during the Bay of Pigs invasion and part of Operation 40. The boss saw the US government betray the Cuban exiles by refusing to send in air support, meaning that the Cuban exiles were obliterated, and she could only watch it happen. This made her question why the country she'd sacrificed so much for would betray her, so she went underground. But that's enough about the boss's background for now. Let's get back into the story. Following a tense week of interrogations and recovering from his injuries, Snake successfully enters into Soviet airspace via drone on the 30th of August 1964. Snake's mission is now to kill Volgin, destroy the Shagohod, secure Sokolov, and to kill the boss. And during a bumpy landing in Selenoyarsk, Snake's immediate objective, however, is to make contact with Adam. Adam being one of two former codebreakers for the National Security Agency who both defected to the Soviets in 1960. Sneaking through the jungle, Snake comes across a horse. He is then surprised by the boss, who comments that death wasn't ready for him yet. She easily disarms Snake, kicks his ass, destroys his weapon and the drone, and tells him to go home, mentioning that the border is 16 miles south of there. Before she leaves, she tells Snake that she didn't defect, but that she's simply loyal to her purpose, to the end, and that he, Snake, needs to decide whether he's loyal to his country or to her, his mentor. Given that the smoke from the destroyed drone will attract scouting parties looking for an intruder, Snake pushes on and makes it to the rendezvous, the same place he'd previously met Sokolov, and to his surprise, Adam is not there. Remember I mentioned there were two codebreakers that defected? Well, this is the other one, Eva. Eva says that she's the replacement for Adam. She takes out some soldiers and gives Snake a replacement weapon and a scientist's disguise, which will help Snake gain access to the lab where Sokolov is being held. After giving him directions, Eva tells Snake that he should get some sleep, and he does so. While he's sleeping, Eva is outside being shifty. When Snake awakens, he discovers that the building he's in is surrounded by Ocelot's GRU unit. Eva escapes while Snake stays and dispatches the entire unit. Hearing gunshots, he investigates and finds Ocelot holding Eva at gunpoint. He notices her perfume. Ocelot, who took Snake's previous advice and got hold of a single-action army revolver, commits another rookie error and has miscounted his shots. So Eva attacks Ocelot and she vanishes into the jungle on her bike, saying she needs to get back before he does. Snake then sets off for the lab. On the way, he encounters Ocelot again and a tense standoff occurs. After he shows off a bit, Ocelot battles Snake. The young soldier is no match for Snake though and is easily and swiftly defeated. Snake is then attacked by a swarm of hornets, as are Ocelot and his men. Ocelot runs off and Snake, desperate to escape the hornets, jumps down into a chasm, and he ends up in a dark cave. It's about time we look at who the Cobra unit are. So remember earlier on in the section discussing the boss that she was involved during World War II, I mentioned that she led a unit called the Cobra unit. This unit was created by the philosophers to help combat the Axis powers of Nazi Germany, Italy and Japan. They would be used during the war for the most horrific operations, top secret operations that no one could ever find out about. Due to this, the Cobra unit members would carry a hidden microbomb on them, which would destroy their body if they were ever compromised and would also be detonated upon death. Truth is that, as we saw earlier, the members of the Cobra unit are special. They have certain powers. This is because they are superhuman soldiers that were created as a result of the philosophers and their experiments with parasite therapy. There were 7 members. Well, there still are, kind of, but let me explain. Back in the war, the boss, whose Cobra name was the Joy, and another member called the Sorrow were in a relationship. They had conceived a child. During a rather intense battle, the boss was distracted by her pregnancy and got shot, and she entered a 3-day coma. She recovered, and whilst heavily pregnant in another battle, she got shot again, and then went into labour right there on the battlefield. The baby had to be delivered quickly, so she was cut open, which resulted in a large scar on her torso. The child was then taken away by the philosophers, and that child was Ocelot. The Cobra unit then disbanded due to tensions inside the philosophers. The Sorrow went back to the Soviet Union and the boss was sent by the CIA on a mission to Selenoyarsk in 1962. The boss and the Sorrow were enemies. She needed to kill the Sorrow, but in reality, the US and Russian philosophers had backed the boss into a corner and ordered her to kill the Sorrow or they'd kill Ocelot. The Sorrow actually gave up his life willingly so that the boss could live on and to protect the child. The Cobras were then reconvened by the boss upon a defection, and this leads us back into the events of the game. Continuing through the cave, Snake is confronted by one of the Cobras, the Pain, who Snake had previously seen on the helicopter a week earlier. The parasites that philosophers used on him gave him the ability to control insects through his body secreting pheromones. As well as this, he was unable to feel pain due to his body also releasing high levels of adrenaline. He calls the Cobras the sons of the boss. The Pain throws everything he can at Snake, but again, Snake easily overpowers the Pain and takes him down. He falls to the ground, dies, and, as mentioned before, his microbomb detonates, destroying his body. Leaving the cave, Snake continues on towards the lab and has to avoid various surveillance drones. Arriving at the exterior of some warehouse, which looks like a loading dock, the woman from the chopper, Tatiana, is there with Volgin, as is Sokolov. Sokolov says that he won't go anywhere with them, so Volgin electrocutes Tatiana in order to force Sokolov to obey. Ocelot shows up too and calls Sokolov a traitor. He torments him by placing a single bullet in one of 3 revolvers and juggles them, pulling the triggers and causing Sokolov to wet himself. The boss turns up as well and reprimands Ocelot. They take Sokolov away, and the boss informs Volgin that Snake killed the Pain. He's furious. Another member of the Cobra unit, the End, is wheeled in. He's an extremely old sniper who some even call the father of sniping. When I say old, I mean like over 100 years old, hence why he's basically immobile. Another Cobra appears out of nowhere, and the boss tells this one, the Fear, that she's leaving Snake to him. He runs across the water and leaves. Volgin speaks to Tatiana and indicates that her job is now to entertain him, and they leave. Snake momentarily spots a phantom behind the boss, the Sorrow. The boss then leaves. If Snake is really quick, he can take the end out straight away, but for the sake of story, and although it's fun, we'll just say that he let the old guy go. With the dock clear, Snake heads through the warehouses. He eventually reaches the exterior of the labs. Sneaking past or taking out any guards that are patrolling, he enters the building. Stealthily making his way through, Snake enters an office. Inside is a man who introduces himself as the self-proclaimed best weapons scientist in the Soviet Union, and that thanks to his efforts, the Soviets were able to stamp out the Nazis. This is Alexander Granin, the scientist Volgin had brought in to design him a walking tank. He'd been researching ways to combine both infantry and artillery into one unstoppable machine, a bipedal walking machine capable of carrying nuclear warheads, exactly what Volgin had asked him for. Granin called it Metal Gear. However, due to Sokolov's arrival, Granin has been deemed surplus to requirements, and his research has halted due to Volgin's preference for the Shagohod instead, hence why Granin is drowning his sorrows. He says that he's going to send the Metal Gear documents to a friend in the US. He says that walking tanks will become a revolution when it comes to weaponry, as they can go anywhere. A tank cannot. Snake asks where Sokolov is, and Granin tells him that Sokolov and the Shagohod are at Groznygrad, the massive fort that Volgin had built using the Philosopher's War Chest. Snake goes to leave to head to Groznygrad, and Granin tells Snake that he's mad and will certainly be killed. He wants to help Snake, and as a reward for complimenting his shoes... No, seriously. After Granin tells Snake that the shoes were a gift from the KGB operative Tatiana, Granin tells Snake how he can get into the fortress via an underground tunnel that runs along the perimeter of the fortress. In return, he asks that Snake gets Sokolov out of there and to destroy the Shagohod. He also gives Snake a key card and tells him it's for a door out of the warehouse that leads into the jungle, and that at the far end of the jungle, Snake can make his way into the mountains. Leaving and cautiously walking back through the forest, Snake is shot in the leg by a bolt which is coated in spider venom. This is the work of the Fear, who is able to use active camouflage. He's a weird, disgusting man creature who is known as the Spider Soldier, and his appearance would strike fear into enemies. Snake starts to succumb to the venom, and it's not long until it will paralyze him. When the battle begins, Snake uses some anti-venom and gets back into the fight. The Fear is sneaky on account of his camo, but eventually Snake avoids his bolts and is able to outfox him and bring him down. The Fear explodes due to his microbomb, and Snake has to dodge a load of poison bolts. With the Fear taken care of, Snake makes his way back to the warehouses and uses the keycard Granin gave him on the door. As Granin said, the door leads back out into the jungle, and Snake receives a call from Eva. She says that she's in the fortress of Groznygrad, and that Sokolov is there too, putting the finishing touches on the Shagohod. The Phase 2 tests are done, meaning that very soon they won't need Sokolov anymore. Eva says that using the route Granin told him about means he'll need a different keycard in order to get into the actual fortress. She arranges to meet Snake in some ruins at the top of the mountain. Finally, she warns him about another Cobra lying in wait for him at the foot of the mountain. It's the decrepit old sniper, the End. Snake continues on until he reaches the foot of the mountain. The End lies in wait. He doesn't have a spotter, he doesn't need one. He has a parrot that acts sort of like a spotter for him. His body is also able to adapt to different situations in terms of camouflage. But then when he senses Snake, he awakens as if by instinct alone. When the battle starts, Snake can do a couple of things. Since the End is so damned old, he can save the game, wait 8 days before playing again, and when opening up the game again, the End will have died naturally. If Snake saves and awakens a few days later, however, the End will surprise Snake and will tranquilize him. Snake will wake up in a cell and have to go back and face the End again. But for the sake of story, Snake stays to battle the End and takes him out. As with the others, his microbomb detonates. Heading into the tunnel that Granin mentioned, Snake climbs up a ridiculously long ladder, classic Kojima, and arrives at the mountaintop base. Climbing the mountain and being careful to avoid an attack helicopter, Snake makes it inside the base and meets with Eva. He walks in on her getting changed and notices the scars on her back, a sign of her having been tortured by Volgin. Eva says that Khrushchev's forces are on their way to the fortress, and Volgin is gathering his troops for a meeting with Khrushchev. Due to this, it means that there's a gap in the security in the fort, so now is a perfect time to move. Eva gives Snake the key he'll need for the door in the underground tunnel. She tells Snake that he needs to be a colonel in order to get to the Shagohod. So, she shows him a picture. It's of Volgin and his lover, a Major Rykov. Snake needs to pretend that he's him by stealing his uniform. They discuss an escape plan for when Snake manages to grab Sokolov. Snake looks down and notices Eva's boots. and that's an important detail that'll come up later on. After speaking about Snake's relationship with the boss and discussing their growing feelings for one another outside, Eva goes down to Groznygrad via a bike. Snake scouts out Groznygrad and sees Volgin beating the crap out of a barrel. The truth is that inside said barrel is Granin. Volgin had obviously found out about his betrayal and kills Granin. Ocelot approaches and Volgin pulls a transmitter from Granin's shoe, indicating that there's a spy there at the fortress, but Volgin does not suspect it to have been Granin himself. Volgin mentions that some C3 explosives have been stolen. The boss arrives and shows them the Fear's crossbow, indicating to both Volgin and Ocelot the Fear is dead, as well as the end. Tatiana arrives too. Volgin is furious again, but the boss says that she will take care of Snake. She warns that the US wants to destroy the Shagohod and steal Volgin's inheritance. She leaves and says that she's going to get the Davy Crockett. When Volgin leaves, Ocelot turns to Tatiana, notices her perfume, realizes it's familiar. He notices her boots and says, "Nice boots." He's onto her. So Eva is Tatiana. Who didn't see that coming? Eva left the correct boots at the mountaintop base. Anyway, Snake needs to make his way down to the fortress, so he heads into the underground tunnel and makes his way down the stairs. Snake moves through a large open area, and he's about to meet yet another Cobra. He meets the Fury. The Fury was actually the first man the Soviets sent into space, and not Yuri Gagarin. But entering Earth's atmosphere, coming back, an accident happened and he was burned alive, suffering severe burns all over his body. Due to this, he became obsessed with fire. Oh, and he developed a burning hatred towards the world in general, so that's always good. Wearing a spacesuit and wielding a flamethrower, the Fury tells Snake that he'll feel the scorching pain of being burned alive. As he did with the other Cobra members, Snake takes the Fury down. He mentions the boss before he dies, saying that the Cobras are done and that she needs to live on. He says that he's off to join the Sorrow and his micro-bomb explodes. Being attacked by what appears to be the spirit of the Fury, Snake leaves the area and gets to safety. Carrying on and moving through the tunnel system, Snake climbs a ladder and is inside the fortress now. Moving around the various areas, he makes it inside a building. With the building heavily patrolled, Snake manages to find Major Rykov, incapacitates him, hides his body in a locker, takes his uniform, using it with a mask as a disguise. This mask was actually made for a previous operation at Groznygrad that was scrapped, but Snake had it with him for Snake Eater should he need it. Heading to the West Wing, Snake gains access using his new disguise. He overhears a conversation between who he believes to be Tatiana and Sokolov, who gives something to her. She pulls out the kiss of death but uses it to apply lipstick, and she then leaves. Snake speaks with Sokolov. He says that he'll get Sokolov out of there, but Sokolov says that he's too late as the Shagohod has now been completed. He explains that Phase 2 allows the Shagohod to launch an ICBM straight into the US itself, and this is done by accelerating the Shagohod. Volgin is planning to mass produce the Shagohod and deploy them all over the Soviet Union. He also plans to use these Shagohods to support mass uprising throughout the Third World. With the funds of the Philosopher's Legacy, he will be unstoppable. Eventually, the entire planet will be at war. Sokolov has an idea and tells Snake that the fuel used in the rocket engines is stored inside a tank. If Snake can blow up the tank using some C3, that will likely blow up the entire hangar as well. Unfortunately, the C3, as Volgin mentioned, has been stolen by a female spy, Tatiana or Eva. Sokolov says that she managed to get into Groznygrad by becoming Volgin's lover. Snake thought that Tatiana was Sokolov's lover, but Sokolov says he only loves two women, and that's his wife and daughter back in America. Sokolov explains that Tatiana is a spy working for Khrushchev. He says that the item he gave her was the experimental data for the Shagohod. He insists that Snake destroys the Shagohod, and saying that he's there to rescue Sokolov, he says to Snake that he's not going anywhere, and they should leave him there. He says that Khrushchev has abandoned him, and that if he returns to his country, he will just be thrown into the gulag. He also says that if he went back to the US, he'd be forced to make more weapons and machines that are capable of mass destruction. Their chat is interrupted as Volgin approaches, so Snake puts on his disguise. Volgin suspects something, as it's suspicious that Major Rykov is in there after Volgin was waiting for him in his room. He grabs Snake's nether region and deduces that this in fact is not his lover, but an imposter. Volgin shoots Sokolov in the leg twice, causing Snake to disarm Volgin. The boss enters the room. Bad news for Snake, as once again she gives him a beatdown. Volgin goes to shoot Snake, but the boss gives him a beatdown too. Volgin announces his intention to torture Snake for hurting his boyfriend and beats Snake up, badly. Having been knocked unconscious, Snake is then tied up and comes to, finding that Volgin has beaten the living daylights out of Sokolov and has killed him. Volgin continues to torture Snake, demanding to know what the CIA know about him, trying to get him to reveal that the CIA are after the legacy. The boss enters along with Tatiana, and she says that he won't tell him anything, as she's trained him not to break. Volgin is a moron, and basically tells everyone there where the Philosopher's legacy is, in an underground vault in Groznygrad. A transmitter falls from Snake, and the boss says that she planted it on him to track his movements. Volgin says that he needs the boss to prove that she's not loyal to Snake by cutting out his eyes. The boss is hesitant, and Tatiana stops the boss from doing it. She says that Snake has suffered enough. Ocelot then outs Tatiana as the spy, saying that he knows her smell. He grabs her breast and she gives him a slap. He pulls out 3 revolvers again and carries out his party trick, leading to Snake intervening and getting his right eye destroyed as payment for his troubles. The boss reprimands Ocelot again and Volgin leaves. The boss then shoots Snake in the leg and gives him the gun. The same phantom shows up behind the boss, showing a codec frequency. The boss tells Snake to run and she leaves. Eva then tells Snake to get out via the sewers and to head west, as she's prepared an escape route for them. Snake is then patched up and thrown into a cell. Snake can talk to the guard, who reveals that his name is Johnny, that he's pretty lonely and used to live in the US before the Cold War, and even had a wife and kid, and he wants to see his family again. His kid's name was Johnny too. He pulls out a photo of his family. During the conversation, Snake sees the same codec frequency, 144.75. After the conversation, Snake calls the frequency and the cell door unlocks. Surprising poor Johnny, Snake knocks the guy out and leaves the area. Heading back across the outside areas, Snake enters the sewers. Eva calls and says that Colonel Volgin found out Snake escaped, and now the entire fortress is on red alert. She says that due to this red alert, Snake won't be able to get out of the fortress, as the exits from the sewers are sealed off. A unit has been sent to the sewers to find Snake, so Snake heads north through the sewers, avoiding attack dogs. He eventually makes it to a long tunnel and runs towards the light and to an exit. He's being chased by Volgin's soldiers. Ocelot's GRU soldiers and dogs. Snake standing on the ledge, Ocelot appears and does some gloating.
I wanted to play rimworld, or like stream rimworld originally, but nah.
And pulling the trigger, so Snake takes this opportunity to
for some reason it doesn't work again.
The water below. He's carried downstream but passes out underwater. Snake enters into a burning forest. He is confronted by the ghost of the Sorrow, the ghost that has been assisting Snake throughout his mission. Sorrow makes it clear that Snake is in some sort of spiritual realm. Remember I mentioned that the philosophers were trying to force the boss to kill the Sorrow? Well, she complied in order to save their son, Ocelot, and shot him in the left eye. This is signified by the fact that he weeps blood out of his left eye. His remains lie near to the place where Snake was injured on the riverbank 1 week prior. His power was that he was a medium, and this meant that he could communicate with the spirit world, and he could evoke the spirits of the dead. Anyway, the Sorrow tells Snake that he will know the sorrow of the lives of those he has ended. Snake walks down the river and sees the ghosts, the souls of all the people he killed on his mission, including the members of the Cobra unit. After a long walk down the river, Snake comes to and swims to the surface. A call with Eva sees her tell Snake to seek out a cave behind a waterfall. Finding the cave, Eva arrives in style. She gives him his equipment back along with a fancy new eye patch. Cooking some snakes and some fish on a fire, Eva and Snake talk. The two grow closer. Eva then pulls a transmitter out of Snake's back, put in there by Ocelot in the torture room. Snake throws the transmitter on the fire and Eva hands him the C3 explosives that she'd stolen from Groznygrad. She tells him the same thing that Sokolov did, that he needs to use the C3 to blow up the fuel tanks inside the hangar containing the Shagohod. After Eva leaves, Snake heads up through a tunnel and comes back out in Groznygrad again. A vehicle arrives and parks on top of the great backs of the tunnel, so Snake's path back through there is a no-go. He eventually manages to sneak into the hangar. Making his way through it, Snake plants explosives on the various fuel tanks. Whilst doing so, Snake gets a call from Eva, stating that she's placed her share of the C3 on the rail bridge, covering their escape attempt. After he's finished placing the charges, Snake is confronted by Volgin and Ocelot, who it turns out have actually captured Eva. The boss appears and disarms Snake, again, and the two fight using the CQC they developed together, but the boss once again gets the better of Snake. Whilst Ocelot puts a gun in Snake's face, he sees the Sorrow again. He's telling Snake how much time he has left before the C3 goes off. Volgin says that he found Eva inside his underground vault, and she stole the microfilm with the details regarding the philosopher's legacy. Seems that Volgin telling them all about the location of the microfilm back in the torture room was actually a clever ploy to flush out the spy amongst them. Volgin kicks Eva, which angers Snake. Ocelot states that it wasn't her perfume that gave her away, but it was the smell of gasoline from her bike. Eva attempts to use the kiss of death on Volgin, but Volgin stops her and subjects her to more electrical torture. He explains about the philosopher's legacy and how he used the philosopher's spy network, which was still intact, to contact the boss and suggested that she defect. Volgin says that the conflict within the philosophers after World War II tore apart unity. Volgin wants to use the philosopher's legacy in order to restore that. He wanted to use the Shagohod and the Cobra unit since they only obeyed the boss, but Snake has taken out most of the Cobras. He says that there's nothing the US can do to stop them. He gives the legacy microfilm to the boss and tells her to take it someplace safe. She says that she'll go and see if there are any signs of sabotage and that she'll dispose of Eva, leaving Volgin to deal with Snake. However, the boss whispers to Eva and says, "Leave everything to me," and tells Volgin to fight like a warrior. What is the boss up to? Ocelot wants to get even and wants to face Snake in a duel. Volgin's not having it though and wants to kill Snake himself. Snake and Volgin then face off. The Sorrow appears again, telling Snake he only has 5 or so minutes until the C3 explodes. Ocelot brandishes a weapon and a knife and gives them to Snake. However, he cannot use his weapons against Volgin, so must defeat him in hand-to-hand combat. Throughout the battle, Ocelot is throwing items down to Snake, offering him support. Eventually, Volgin tires and tells Ocelot to shoot Snake. Ocelot refuses, saying he made a promise to the boss. Volgin tells Ocelot to find the explosives that Snake had planted. Snake and Volgin continue to fight, but eventually, he defeats the Colonel. An exhausted Snake hurries out of the hangar. Ocelot sees that Snake has defeated Volgin and escaped, and he smiles. Eva shows up on her bike and Snake jumps into the sidecar. They speed away from the hangar as the C3 detonates. Eva tells Snake that the boss actually just let her go. Snake says he has one last thing to do, to kill the boss. Eva tells him that the boss is already at the lake waiting for Snake, where his and Eva's escape transport is waiting. She says that she doesn't want him to fight the boss. As they're about to leave though, it appears that the blast didn't take out the Shagohod, or Volgin for that matter, as he's piloting it. Attempting to escape, Eva drives to avoid the Shagohod while Snake has to take out many soldiers. Eva says that they can lure the Shagohod to the bridge that she'd rigged, and hopefully they can sink it. Ocelot gives chase too, however, and a brief chase through the burning hangar sees Ocelot nearly die via falling debris, but Snake fires an RPG at the debris, saving Ocelot's life. Ocelot gives up the chase, and after being pursued on the runway by Volgin and other soldiers on the bikes, the bridge is in sight. They lure the Shagohod to the other side, and Snake shoots the explosives on the bridge's supports. The Shagohod appears to have fallen into the water, but Snake and Eva's elation is short-lived, as the Shagohod is very much still working, and they are forced into a fight against Volgin and the machine. But using RPGs, Snake manages to defeat it. Volgin, though, is persistent as ever, and he uses his electrical abilities in order to control the Shagohod with his own body. Eva uses herself as bait, and Snake continues to hammer the Shagohod with the RPGs, and uses a sniper rifle to defeat Volgin himself. After the battle, the rains come. Volgin then dies, and they are pursued again. Eva and Snake finally escape Groznygrad, however, Eva's bike is destroyed and she's badly injured. Snake patches Eva up with the help of paramedic. Eva's weak, but they need to walk the rest of the way through the jungle and must evade or kill many patrolling soldiers. Despite their slim odds for survival, they make it to the lake. The boss is there, waiting. She uses the final portable nuke and completely destroys Groznygrad. She tells Snake all about her experience working for the US and their various programs and operations during the Cold War and how it made her disillusioned. Finally, she tells Snake that she has radioed Russian fighter jets to bomb the area as a way to ensure that Snake finishes his mission. The two face off for the final time. A tense and fierce battle between the two now takes place. Due to Snake's skill set getting better during his mission, his skills are now a match for the boss, and she regularly compliments him on that fact. Snake eventually gets the better of his mentor and defeats her. As she lies there dying, the boss hands the microfilm containing the details for the philosopher's legacy over to Snake and asks him to keep it safe. She gives him her weapon, and she asks him to kill her. Snake is reluctant to do so, but he grants her request. The spirits of both the boss and the Sorrow are now at peace and can move on. Heading to the wig where Eva is waiting, they take off. However, there's one more thing. Ocelot is desperate to settle a score. He boards the plane, fights with Snake, and eventually challenges him to a duel. Ocelot wants them to share their real names. Snake lies and tells him his name is John. And Ocelot shares his. Ocelot was born with the name Adamska. He was the other NSA codebreaker that defected, and the Adam that was meant to meet Snake instead of Eva. He was undercover as an operative of the GRU. Turns out that Ocelot was actually working for the CIA all along. They duel and both shoot but do each other no harm. Ocelot laughs at Snake's confusion and tells him that the bullet put into the revolver was a blank. Ocelot says, until they meet again, and the two smile at one another before Ocelot jumps off of the plane and into the lake, allowing him and Eva to take off and leave. After landing in Alaska, a little while later, Snake and Eva sheltered in an abandoned cabin and got cozy with one another. But while Snake is sleeping, Eva is preparing to leave and records Snake a message. She leaves and Snake awakens in the morning to find that Eva has taken the Philosopher's Legacy and the data from the Shagohod. He listens to the recording. She reveals that she's a triple agent. She's not working for the US and was never an NSA codebreaker. The two codebreakers who defected were both men. She's not working for the Soviets and Khrushchev either, but she is working for China, where the Philosophers are still active, and they wanted Eva to get the Philosopher's Legacy from Volgin. China also wanted to get their own nuclear weaponry capabilities going too, and the Shagohod's launch data helps them do that. She says that she was supposed to kill Snake but chose to spare him, not only because she'd fallen in love with him, but also because she'd made a promise to the boss to keep Snake alive. She also says that she was a former student of the Philosophers, as Eva attended one of the Philosopher's Charm schools, where, remember, the boss was previously an instructor, so the boss saw straight through her cover. She says that the boss's defection was actually complete and utter bollocks, as she was a double agent initially sent to infiltrate Volgin's operation by the US in order to obtain the Philosopher's Legacy. After Volgin used the US nuke to destroy the Soviets' research facility and fearing the blowback from the Soviets for their botched operation, the US left the boss out to dry, marking her as a rogue agent and a defector. The US government had told Snake she defected as they desperately wanted the Philosopher's Legacy, and they wanted the Shagohod destroyed. The boss had to be killed by one of their own, so of course, Snake was sent back in under threat of execution if he did not carry out his mission. Anyway, Snake goes back to the US and to the CIA headquarters in Langley. He receives a warm reception for the duty he'd done for his country. Major Zero is there, as is Sigint, real name Donald Anderson, and paramedic. Also there is the US President Lyndon B. Johnson. Johnson awards Snake a medal, calls him a true patriot, and gives Snake the new codename Big Boss, and the top brass there talk of his skill and how he could be the man to head up a brand new Fox infiltration unit for the US Army. Snake, though, learning of how the boss had been betrayed by the country and government she'd given her life to protect, well, this didn't sit right with him. Major Zero tries to congratulate him, but knowing that he'd been sold a lie by the government and that he'd killed his beloved mentor believing she was a traitor, filled Snake with shame and regret. He leaves without speaking to anyone. He then visits her grave in Arlington Cemetery, and he sheds a tear for his former mentor. The lies and cover-ups by the US government would paint the boss as a war criminal when she was nothing of the sort, and then painting him as the hero would mark a change in Snake. In the aftermath of these events in the same year, Nikita Khrushchev is ousted and Brezhnev becomes first secretary in his place. Thanks to Eva obtaining the data from the Shagohod, China's nuclear program ramped up, and on October 16, 1964, they conducted their first nuclear test. In 1965, Sigint joined ARPA, and over the years, Snake would attempt to track down Eva, but in 1968, she disappeared whilst in Hanoi. After Snake Eater, Snake retired and left the Fox unit. He attempted to become a hunting guide, but this didn't last long. His legend remained, but despite being Big Boss, he felt that he didn't deserve the title Boss, so he continued to use the name Naked Snake. Zero dissolved the American Philosophers and reformed it as an organization called the Patriots or the Lalilulelo, and Zero invites Ocelot to join, and he also recruited Sigint and Paramedic. Around 1971, Eva had been tracked down by Snake in Hanoi and rescued. Since she'd been expelled from China due to her failure to deliver the real Philosopher's Legacy, and instead having unknowingly delivered a fake, she went to America and joined the Patriots too. With Big Boss on board with the Patriots now, they have their 6 founding members. The ideology of this organization was simple. It was to follow Big Boss's vision of a world united, with Big Boss being at the center of it, and a figure that people would look to and who they would want to follow. However, the interpretation of this was seen slightly differently by Zero and Big Boss. Zero saw it as the world being under the control of a single group, ensuring unity of thought and awareness. The other Patriots followed his lead, whereas Big Boss only wanted to carry on the wishes of the boss, that the world's soldiers would not be pawns to be used by worldwide governments. Big Boss saw Zero trying to create stories, both true and false, to elevate the legend of Big Boss, so he would almost be viewed as an idol. He saw Zero acting a similar way to the American philosophers, in the way that they used and manipulated the boss. The internal conflict between Big Boss and Zero due to their clashing ideologies would grow, and Zero came up with a plan should Big Boss decide to leave the Patriots. This was a secret project called Les Enfants Terribles, and it was carried out with ATGC Incorporated, who were a US biotech company, and the project was also supported by DARPA. DARPA being the Defense and Advanced Research Projects Agency. Zero got Dr. Clark, or paramedic, on board, which was a given, as she worked for ATGC, and he got Eva on board too, and they took Big Boss's DNA with the intention of making clones of Big Boss. Eva became the surrogate mother to these clones, and eventually two were born with their ability to reproduce taken away. Engineered out. Naturally, Big Boss found out about this, and furious, he parted ways with the Patriots, wanting nothing to do with Eva, and formed his own group of mercenaries who would call themselves Militaires Sans Frontières, which translates as an army without borders. This was done to further the dying wishes of the boss. Eva would leave soon after, but Ocelot would stay with the Patriots and would spy for Big Boss and for Eva.
You parted ways, as did Eva, leaving only Anderson and Clark still with him. I maintained limited contact, although truth be told, we were just keeping tabs on one another. The reason was always you.
Now this is when Zero lost his way and lost control for that matter. He wanted an orderly world governed by rules. Lots of wars would grow his fortune, and he had influence stretching all the way to the White House. As mentioned, Paramedic and Sigint would stay with the Patriots, but both would become hungry for power and succumb to corruption. The Patriots would then come to be known as Cypher in 1974.
Zero created Cypher, an information network to tap into every corner of the globe. Woven together, Cypher's arteries make the world just one big organism. And that's not all. It also monitors the thorn in Zero's side. That's you, tracking your coordinates wherever you might go. The further you strayed from your roots, the larger Zero became. It's as if he was trying to close the gap between you.
Big Boss, who we'll now just refer to as Snake from this point, has his troops stationed on the Barranquilla coast of Colombia. On 4th of November 1974, the troops are undergoing training. One of MSF's commanders, McDonald Kazuhiro Miller, approaches, and he's got two people with him. Heading into the base's office, Snake speaks with visitors. The man is Ramon Galvez Mena, a scholar who is part of the Costa Rican government, something called University for Peace, and with him is his student, Paz Ortega Andrade. They want the MSF's help. They explain that an unknown and very well-funded army has entered Costa Rica. He says that Costa Rica doesn't have its own army, as their constitution as a nation states that the army has been abolished, something called the Peace Constitution. There's something fishy going on, as the Costa Rican government claim that this mysterious army are a multinational security outfit hired by the Developmental Department of Costa Rica. However, Galvez does not believe this at all. He thinks this because of their highly advanced weaponry and equipment, which is in high supply. Galvez says that he suspects that the CIA may have something to do with this army being there through funding their activities. This causes an anger to grow inside Snake. Galvez believes that the US sees Central America as its backyard, that even after the Cuban tensions during the Cold War, Costa Rica's relationship with the US has remained balanced. Galvez pleads with Snake and Miller to help drive this army out of the country, as Costa Rica's own deterrent. As payment, Galvez says that he will give them an offshore base of operations off the coast of the Caribbean and a chopper for transport. Miller states that this is perfect for MSF, as the army needs someplace permanent that they can settle. Galvez adds that they'll have the full but unofficial support of the Costa Rican government. Snake has reservations though. He accuses Galvez of thinking MSF are just a pack of dogs of war. Snake tries to convince Galvez to try and negotiate instead, but he's reluctant, saying that the government's hands are tied. Galvez then states that he's not there on his government's behalf. He says that this force have a supply port north of Puerto Limon. Paz stumbled upon it whilst she was searching for a friend who was lost and she got captured. They tortured her, but she eventually managed to escape. Since Paz lost people close to her due to war, she hates war. Paz then asks Snake to get this army out of Costa Rica. Once again, Snake declines. Having a private talk with Miller, Snake conveys his worry that if they settle somewhere, the MSF will at some point become the warmongers themselves. Then, Miller and Snake realize that if the CIA are backing this military, then Galvez is likely a KGB agent. Miller says that there'd be no turning back, as allying themselves with a KGB agent would mean making an enemy of their homeland. Paz and the professor enter the room, and after he uses his prosthetic hand to light Snake's cigar, Snake and Miller confront the professor about his affiliation. Galvez neither confirms nor denies his KGB affiliation, but he explains his mission. The KGB wants Central America in order to build a socialist stronghold and use that to split North and South America in two. That would be crippling to the US, and Latin America would be within reach of the Soviet Union. Galvez firmly believes that whoever controls Central America will win the Cold War. He highlights the US-backed Somoza regime in Nicaragua. The Somoza family ruled Nicaragua from 1936 for 43 years. It was a dictatorship and passed down from father to son and so on, and this dictatorship maintained a favorable relationship with the US. Galvez says that the KGB had already begun providing aid to a socialist party known as Sandinista National Liberation Front, a group inspired by what Fidel Castro and Che Guevara achieved in Cuba in 1960. Galvez says that it's clear that the CIA-backed armed group in Costa Rica are attempting to disrupt their efforts over the border in Nicaragua. That's not all, apparently. Galvez says that the CIA have something else planned too, but that he does not yet know what that is. He needs Snake and the MSF to find out what that something is. He asks Snake to infiltrate the facility where Paz was imprisoned and tortured, and once again asks them to drive this army out of the country. Miller asks about Paz. She doesn't know that Galvez is KGB, and that he's there to disrupt US and CIA operations. He explains that whilst Paz was able to escape her captors, her friend was not so lucky and didn't escape. He then plays Snake and Miller a recording on a tape that Paz took during her escape.
What is that? A quetzal?
The phoenix bird. Paz's friend was researching birds. She went out into the jungle to record bird calls and stumbled upon this.
So what?
Now it gets interesting.
Poisonous. I need to get rid of it. I chase it back to its nest. You can't. The snake's too vicious. It's all... Many people... I chase it away. It will bite you unless you kill it. Go home.
Boss. Voice print analysis confirms that this voice is indeed that of the legendary hero and criminal, the boss.
What?
The other hasn't been identified. Female in her 30s with a British accent. The song playing in the background
British hack.
in 1973.
What's it going to be? Loyalty to your country or loyalty to me? Your country or your mentor? Your mission or your beliefs?
No.
Boss is alive in Costa Rica.
Limbus Company
As I understand
is the reason why I like hacks.
fought by your side. And that you killed her under orders from the CIA. Thus passing her to become the hero known as Big Boss.
With Snake reeling from hearing the voice of the boss and the possibility that she is still alive and in Costa Rica, he eventually relents and agrees to help once he sees Galvez threaten to burn the tape. But Snake says that he's only agreed to do so because of Paz. With the MSF now stationed at their base out at sea, Snake arrives on the coast of Costa Rica at Playa del Alba. Infiltrating the jungle, he immediately spots CIA mercenaries. Sneaking through the area, careful to keep himself silent and invisible, Snake arrives at a supply depot. He overhears a radio man saying that they broke him, and Snake spots a bloodied man in the room. The radio man speaks of a target 500 and that they acquired the location of this target.
No, right now
The
we're
voice
at
over the radio talks
MGS
about
Peace Walker.
spears having been loaded.
Like this is
Interrogating the
post
radio man, he
MGS
states that
3.
he's directing cargo to Irazu in the mountains. After knocking the man out, Snake spots and hears a very odd VTOL passing overhead, which seems to be emitting a kind of song. Searching the room, he finds a map, and this map reveals the Army's bases in the region. Speaking with Miller over the radio, he reveals that he's also found a load of film badges used to measure radiation exposure. Surmising that this is linked to the cargo they call Spears, they realize that they're bringing nukes into Costa Rica. This is a direct contravention of the international treaty called the Tlatelolco Treaty, which established the denuclearization of Latin America and the Caribbean. This was put in place in order to prevent a repeat of the Cuban Missile Crisis. With Snake needing to know the lay of the land, Miller reminds him about the Sandinistas and advises that he get in touch with their commander. While Snake sets off to make contact with the commander, one of the MSF soldiers infiltrates the supply depot and uses a Fulton device to extract the radio commander. That soldier is sent to the mother base and is then eventually recruited into the MSF. Meanwhile, Snake speaks with Paz, who is staying at a school until things quieten down a bit. She says that if he needs to know anything about Costa Rica, then he should ask her. Miller then tells Snake they need to confirm what the Spears actually are. Miller says the Sandinistas' hideout has come under attack, so Snake needs to head there and secure the commandant. Heading through the jungles of eastern Limon, Snake eventually reaches the hideout and does indeed find that it's come under attack. Dealing with the soldiers there, Snake hears a thud coming from the boathouse. Heading up, he finds the Sandinistas there. They were hiding. Snake speaks with a young woman who is called Amanda. Their commandant, her father, is dead, so she has taken command of the group. Snake tells her that he's a Colombian and that he went there to take pictures of birds. She confirms that the soldiers who attacked the base were indeed CIA mercenaries, and she says that they've got too much hardware for something as simple as pushing the Sandinistas out. She also informs Snake of one of the enemy's bases, an abandoned factory to the north. During their chat, they are interrupted by the VTOL Snake saw earlier on, still playing that strange melody. It's revealed to be an unmanned weapon, and it begins firing upon the Sandinistas. Snake saves Amanda's life, but the VTOL deploys capture drones, and Snake destroys a couple of them but misses the VTOL. One of them grabs Amanda's little brother Chico, and Snake stops her from using a launcher, as the fall will kill Chico. Amanda and her Sandinistas run after the drone. With reinforcements arriving at the boathouse, Snake makes his way to the factory. After finding and freeing any prisoners being held there at the sorting shed, Snake passes through and comes to a large open area. A group of heavily armoured personnel with the letters PS on their gear show up, along with an armoured vehicle known as a LAV Type G, and a battle takes place. Unfortunately for them, Snake eventually defeats them and destroys the vehicle. After this battle, Snake spots another drone. This one has a gun mounted on it. It's heading towards a gunship, and the odd melody continues to play out. The drone eventually spots Amanda, who is nearby, and it deploys a grappling hook, which grabs Amanda in an attempt to abduct her. Amanda cuts herself free, but in the fall, she breaks her leg. Another grappling hook is deployed, and Snake shoots the drone. Amanda falls through some trees, and these help to break her fall a bit, softening the landing, but she's still heavily injured. Thankfully, the trees cover their position from the drone. Amanda states that the abandoned factory that Snake passed through is an old banana factory which was once a KGB front for drug production. This factory, operated by the Sandinistas, served to provide funds for the revolution. Telling her that he suspects that the cargo is actually nukes, Amanda is shocked. She says that the transport route could lead them to Chico and her revolutionaries. Snake agrees to help rescue Chico. He reveals his true identity to her, and he uses the Fulton device to send her to the mother base so she can heal up. With her at mother base, he can ask her any questions he has about American bases or their mercenary units. Snake heads to the mountains to infiltrate the mountain prison facility. Arriving, the facility is essentially a small village that has been taken over by the CIA mercenaries. They installed new front doors to make them more secure, and they are housing prisoners inside these tiny houses. Checking the front doors and looking through the peepholes, Snake eventually finds the one that houses Chico. Entering the house, Chico recognizes Snake from the boathouse. Chico says that the mercenaries take the cargo through the marshes on a barge, then they load the cargo onto a train and transport the cargo by rail, and then the train then stops at a terminal just past a coffee plantation. The train goes into a tunnel and then disappears. He says that none of the Sandinistas ever managed to get close enough to the other side of the tunnel, as it's protected by a spirit, a giant monster that he calls El Basilico, which means King of Snakes. Chico goes on to say that this King of Snakes walks on legs as big as trees, and that he saw this monster at the terminal next to the tunnel. Chico says that if Snake hurries, he can catch the train at the terminal. It's revealed that Chico was conflicted about how the Sandinistas were funding themselves, which, as we've heard, was through drug production and smuggling. At one point, he tried to set the drug plant on fire, such was his disgust at what the Sandinistas were doing. He reveals that he gave into the torture and gave up information on the Sandinistas, and as a result he says he wishes he was dead. Snake gives Chico a reason he should go on living, that he should fight alongside him, and sends him to Mother Base via full recovery. Amanda thanks Snake for saving her and Chico asks Snake to save any Sandinista prisoners he finds, and offers to answer any questions regarding wildlife that he has. An intel team is then set up at Mother Base in order to support the MSF's efforts. Snake then heads for the terminal to try and intercept the cargo. Snake arrives at the coffee factory and passes through. He eventually makes it to the terminal at El Cadalso. He spots a train car and a bunch of soldiers there. Neutralizing the enemy soldiers, Snake checks the train car, and the cargo has been loaded onto a truck and is driven away, but not before Snake gets a good look at the truck's number plate. He then has to do battle with another heavily armored vehicle, this time a T-72 tank, along with more heavily armored soldiers. Despite the overwhelming odds, Snake excels in battle. After taking some damage, the captain who is controlling the tank emerges, and taking him out, Snake is able to capture the tank, and it becomes a useful asset gained by the MSF. Snake needs to go after the trucks carrying the cargo. Since the tank took out the tunnel, Chico tells him about an alternate route through the prison village. Miller also mentions the fact that after scrapped plans to build hydroelectric plants in the region, there's an entrance into the mountain via one of the crater lakes. Miller surmises that they probably built a base inside the mountain, so making his way to the village and blowing up a barricade, Snake crosses over a gorge and is now at a fortress called Fuerte La Ladera. Infiltrating it, he finds the truck he saw leaving earlier on, but the nukes are no longer there, with them having been unloaded. Snake then overhears a conversation.
Just a minute, this isn't what we agreed on.
It's too late. The changes have already been finalized.
You told me it was going to be a deterrent, that we wouldn't have to launch.
I am not arguing with you, Doctor. Our goal is to create the perfect deterrent.
That's why I agreed to help develop it.
However, in order to achieve that perfect deterrent, we must show the world our strength. 3 key principles ensure effective nuclear deterrence. First, you must have nuclear weapons. Second, you must never use them first. And third, and most important, if someone attacks you, you must strike back. Unless we prove beyond a doubt that these 3 principles work in practice, the world will not accept our new deterrent. And the only way to do that is to show them we are capable of actually launching a nuke.
But isn't deterrence supposed to stop nukes from being used?
Exactly. And so the one we launch will be the last one ever.
I won't let you use my creation like that.
Your creation? That thing wasn't even your idea to begin with. You stole it, didn't you?
Stole it? You're one to talk. You got the idea for bipedal locomotion from the communists in the first place.
You listen to me, Doc. Keep quiet. Do as I say. Not another word about stolen ideas. Should we succeed here, you'll be the toast of the scientific community. And your name will go down in history as champion of both progress and national security.
The hell with that!
Doctor! Unless we prove we're capable of launching, Peace Walker is useless as a deterrent. You used me! We used each other. I'll get my old director's job back at headquarters, and you'll finally be able to walk tall among your colleagues.
I won't let you get away with this!
How unfortunate. Guess I'll just have to take your legs for myself. Peace won't just come to us, Doc. We are going to have to meet it halfway. V or victory. Wait!
Hey, you okay?
Don't do it!
Snap out of it. Where are the nukes?
He's gonna do it! He's gonna launch a nuke!
With the man preparing to launch a nuke, Snake rushes to an open-top hangar, and he sees a machine underneath a tarp being lifted away and out of the hangar by the gunship he saw in the forest earlier on. It's at that moment, though, that another machine, similar to Sokolov's Shagohod he'd encountered in Seloniarsk, attacks him. This machine is called Pupa, an attack craft powered by AI. It has a vast arsenal available to it, but after a grueling battle, Snake triumphs. He destroys the main component, the AI pod, and doing so he is able to climb inside it. The scientist then tells Snake to pull out all of the AI memory boards from the pod. The machine then explodes and the AI pod is ejected and shoots up into the sky. Afterwards, Snake speaks with the scientist and he introduces himself as Dr. Huey Emmerich. He created the machine that Snake just fought. Huey explains that he kind of had a hand in creating the large machine that was lifted out of the hangar earlier on. He explains that the nukes were loaded onto that particular machine and that the project to create this machine is in its final stage. Huey explains it better.
We used this facility to develop unmanned weapons.
Unmanned?
Robots. The one you just fought was a pupa. There's also a flying type called Chrysalis and a treaded type, the Cocoon. Motor control, target detection, tracking, attack, capture, and transport functions are all controlled by an electronic brain. There's no need for a human pilot. They can only follow simple commands, though.
Why build them here?
For the CIA. They invited me here a year ago.
That's who that guy was.
The CIA's station chief for Central America. Goes by the name of Hot Coldman. Apparently he was some sort of hero back at the height of the Cold War. He's the one running the show. We called it the Peace Walker Project.
Peace Walker?
They're going to deploy a new type of nuclear weapon along the Caribbean coast of Latin America. A mobile, unmanned nuclear platform.
Unmanned nuclear platform?
A fail-deadly system that can automatically move into position and launch a retaliatory nuclear strike. It can move on its own, and stealth shields it from radar and satellite detection, drastically reducing the risk of it being destroyed in a preemptive strike.
And this is the new deterrent?
Supposed to be. The problem is the locomotion system. There's no dry season in the Caribbean. It rains all year round. The terrain is full of tropical rainforest. A lot of the time you can't even build a proper road. So I went back to where it all started.
What's that?
Legs. Walking power. A mobile launcher carrying a thermonuclear warhead even more powerful than the Soviet RDS-220s. That's Peace Walker.
Chico's Basilisco.
We did the assembly and field testing here.
A walking nuke.
I sort of borrowed the original idea from behind the Iron Curtain.
The missing link between infantry and artillery. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. But they'd actually need to deploy dozens of them. Coldman needs funding for that. And to get it, he's planning a test, which will also serve as a demonstration for the folks back at Langley.
Wait, he's launching a nuke to prove that his perfect deterrent works?
In his words, to prove that if someone attacks us, we will strike back.
Huey then explains mutually assured destruction to Snake, but he explains the flaw in nuclear deterrence, the human element. That if one side is struck by a nuclear weapon, then there's actually no guarantee that the other side will actually strike back due to the potential loss of human life. With Peace Walker, retaliation is certain as it's unmanned. There's no moral conundrum. The ultimate deterrence. Coldman wants to show the world that retaliation can be carried out by a machine, and that there'll be no bluffing. A nation won't strike another nation that has an unmanned machine that can strike back, and that will completely disregard human life. Huey explains that this needs to be stopped and tells Snake about the location of the base where the nuke will be launched from. As mentioned, the Peace Walker project is in its final phase, but it's missing something. The brain. A very advanced AI brain that can take the place of a human decision maker, and something that can select the appropriate retaliatory target all on its own. Huey also tells Snake about a research lab to the north that is developing this brain, and that this part of the project is being headed up by another American scientist, an AI expert called Dr. Strangelove. Huey gives Snake a letter intended for Strangelove, and a keycard that will get him inside the lab. Snake offers Huey the opportunity to join MSF, so after showing him the ruins in the distance where Strangelove's lab is, Snake Fultons Huey out of there, and he arrives at Mother Base shortly afterwards, which is a massive boost to MSF's R&D team. Shortly afterwards, Huey speaks with Snake, and he says that they started development of a bipedal weapon called Metal Gear Zeke. However, Huey and his R&D team will need resources to build this machine, so just as he did after he defeated the Pupa, he needs to get components for Zeke after any battles that he has. Huey signs off by saying that having their own Metal Gear, MSF will be able to achieve true independence. Meanwhile, many soldiers from all over the world are hearing about MSF and are eager to join, and Snake, at points, will travel back to Mother Base and take them through a rigorous entrance exam as they want to see if Big Boss is the real deal. This essentially amounts to giving them a good kicking. The base was also undergoing expansion, and different platforms were developed since the MSF's manpower and staffing was increasing. Snake needs to journey to the tropical cloud forest into the Mayan ruins in order to get to Strangelove's lab, so he sets off through the jungle on horseback. Paz and Huey contact him and give him the rundown on both the jungle, its wildlife, and what he needs to do. Miller contacts him too, and unfortunately, it seems that Hot Coldman knows that they are there in Costa Rica and has raised security in the areas surrounding the lab itself. This means that the Chrysalis AI gunship will be flying around, and enemy soldiers will be lying about the jungle, camouflaged. Getting close to the lab, Snake, as mentioned, must be careful to watch out for enemy scouts. In one area though, Snake is ambushed by a Hind helicopter, along with a number of soldiers, but you know the drill, Snake soon takes them all out. Once again, a vital piece of machinery is captured by MSF, and they now have a Hind helicopter. Pushing on towards the Mayan ruins, Snake finds a woman sitting, rather worse for wear, at the foot of a tree. She speaks French, and says she is a tourist from Paris. Her name is Cecile Caminades, and she is an ornithologist. Helping her out by giving her something to drink, she talks about having recorded a voice, meaning that she is Paz's friend who made the tape of the boss's voice. She was captured by Strangelove, but Cecile describes her as kind, despite the fact that they had her blindfolded. They said she could go home in a month. She managed to escape eventually though, and she speaks of hearing another woman at the facility, but that she never actually saw this woman, and that the woman often sang a strange song. Snake is eager to know more about this voice, but Cecile can tell him nothing more. Snake offers to send her to the MSF base, calling it Outer Heaven. Explaining what was inside the facility, she describes a large tube. When she approached it, that's when she heard the voice. It simply said the name Jack over and over again, which of course is Snake's real name. After sending Cecile off via Fulton Recovery, Snake continues to head north and arrives at the ruins. He quickly finds the entrance to the lab, but using the key card Huey gave to him, he discovers that the door won't open. Demanding to know what's going on, Snake contacts Huey and tells him that the key card doesn't work. Huey is as surprised as Snake, and it's clear that something happened between Huey and Dr. Strangelove. Speaking with a now freshened up Cecile, she says that the guard who took the key card she stole during her escape attempt wears an orange jacket, so he shouldn't be too hard to spot. He is also stationed in a place where Snake will hear a bird called a quetzal singing. Miller speaks with Snake, and here is where it gets strange. Cecile definitely made the tape with the voice of the boss on it, but she claims that she's never actually met Paz. Anyway, Snake needs the key card, so he heads out to try and find the soldier. Snake needs to look where he can hear quetzals singing. Eventually, he does manage to find the soldier wearing the orange jacket and knocking the guy out who retrieves the key card. Hauling himself back to the Mayan ruins again, he uses the key card and it works. He enters through the door and spots the large Mayan temple. He then sees a white Andalusian horse, a breed that the boss favored. He speaks with a woman in a red coat, and this is Dr. Strangelove. She knows who he is, and she says that she's been waiting. She says that she despises Snake. She seems to harbor a deep hatred for Snake for the fact that he killed the boss 10 years ago. She clearly doesn't know much about Snake, as she asks him if he still wears the title of Big Boss with pride, not knowing that he has shunned that title. She hates him for, in her words, using the pretext of a mission to kill a true hero. He explains what the boss did and how she had to die in order to prevent nuclear war between the US and the Soviets. Strangelove says that she is the one the boss abandoned when she died. She then refers to the boss as the woman she loved. Asking if Snake would like to meet the boss, he says that the boss is gone. She says that Snake took the boss's life and that Strangelove gave it back. She demands that before he's allowed to see the boss, he sniffs some smokeless tobacco called snuff. A bit of an odd request, but either way, Strangelove shows Snake the large tube that Cecil described. Strangelove describes it as an imago, a complete individual. He hears the boss's voice ask if there's someone there. Snake approaches the tube. This tube is called the Mammal Pod. Strangelove basically used a load of information on the boss in order to create an AI version of her. Remember what we learned about Coleman's nuke launching? Retaliatory AI? Well, the boss's mind would be the basis for the AI that Coleman wanted. Strangelove also wanted to clear the boss's now tarnished name, given that she was marked as a traitor and all. She wanted to recreate the boss's last will. Hearing Strangelove use Snake's real name, Jack, this causes the AI to freak out, telling Snake to go home and that she is not his boss anymore. Strangelove challenges Snake to destroy the boss again, if he can, and she locks him in the pod. Snake was unable to completely destroy the boss's pod and he passes out. Remember that snuff that Strangelove had him sniff? What he didn't know is that she had laced it with sleeping pills, and Snake therefore passes out. He then has a series of flashbacks in regard to his final battle with the boss. Snake then comes to and he's been thrown out of the lab and into the grounds in front of the Mayan temple. He sees a Hind helicopter carrying away the AI pod. However, he has to get ready for a battle pretty quickly as the Chrysalis AI gunship emerges. Like the Pupa, the Chrysalis has a lot of weaponry available to it, and Snake battles hard against the gunship whilst it sings that weird melody and calls out what it's choosing to attack with. Thankfully, Snake overcomes the gunship and brings it down. As he did in the Pupa fight, he enters the AI pod taking vital components, and the AI pod then takes off into the sky. After the battle, Snake speaks with Miller, angry that he got played by Strangelove. Miller says that the Peace Walker testing facility is 15 miles to the north and is disguised as a rock quarry. After an argument with Miller about Snake having to destroy the boss again, a traumatic event for him the first time round, and his unwillingness to simply let the boss go and his real reason for accepting this mission, to find the boss, Snake sets off for the rock quarry. Snake eventually, after a long ride on horseback, arrives at a mine base in eastern Heredia. Huey pipes up and says that the facility is somewhere around that mine. He suggests getting up close and destroying the AI. He signs off by begging Snake to not let them use his creation to launch a nuke. Sneaking through the mining area, Snake arrives at the quarry and spots the Peace Walker being lowered into the facility. He is spotted by a drone, and this puts the base on alert with many soldiers emerging to try and take him out. After taking out the numerous soldiers and all of their reinforcements, the fight is not yet over, as Snake must now fight another huge machine. This is another AI weapon, the Cocoon, an elite attack craft. Targeting weak spots such as the AI pod, Snake does a fair amount of damage and climbs the huge machine to enter the exposed pod. As with before, he takes crucial parts the MSF need for Metal Gear Zeke, and as expected, like the other pods did, the AI pod takes off. Snake then moves inside the facility in order to try and stop the launch by destroying Peace Walker's AI pod. Either taking out the many patrolling guards or simply sneaking past them, Snake descends to the bottom level of the facility. He enters the main area where Peace Walker is being held.
Initiate.
What's the situation?
We're waiting on acknowledgement from Reptile. It could be a while.
Don't take all night.
Ah, Colton. I'd like to perform one final check. Everyone, take a break. I've got some concerns about stuff.
Now's your chance, Snake.
Jack, you've returned. What's wrong? Your body temperature has fallen.
You're imagining things.
Have you come to destroy me? Your pulse has quickened slightly.
Just chilly. It's freezing in here.
I see.
Boss.
What is it, Jack?
Boss. Is that you?
What is it, Jack?
Do you have regrets
Regrets?
about your final mission?
My final mission?
The one in Groznygrad.
I've never been on a mission there.
September 1964. You betrayed the United States, and then I killed you.
I have no record of such a debriefing.
Listen to me. I have to know. Did you defect to the Soviet Union of your own free will?
There is no mission record matching that description.
Ah,
Jack,
you're not the boss. The boss is dead.
don't do it, Jack.
Drop your weapon, big boss.
Mammal showed the same response back at the lab. It's a sure sign that you are nearby.
It's an honor to meet you again, big boss.
I've seen that coyote before.
Lobo is the name.
Lobo? Smells like a rotting corpse to me.
I know all about you. Selena Yarsk, 10 years ago.
You were involved.
The operation to eliminate the traitor. I planned the whole thing.
Shouldn't a suit like you be back in Langley? What the hell are you doing here?
It's what the CIA does best. Ensure people in the know keep their mouths shut, or else pack them off someplace where there's no one to listen.
I get it. Trying to claw your way back into their good graces.
It's not quite that simple. My aim is a new world order. Détente, the NPT. SALT, TTBT. Ever since the Cuban Missile Crisis, the structure of the Cold War has been coming apart at the seams. A new age is dawning. An age in which Peace Walker, an infallible nuclear deterrent system with the patience and cold logic of a machine, will play a vital role.
That's your plan. Assigning humanity's sins to a bunch of machines.
Quite romantic. Remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, when the commander of a Russian sub refused an order to launch a nuclear-armed torpedo at an American destroyer? In retrospect, that man was a hero. He saved the world from all-out nuclear war. Humans are incapable of destroying themselves.
But an AI wouldn't hesitate to push the button.
Precisely. Making it the one real deterrent.
People hesitate, lose their nerve. Isn't that why deterrence theory works in the first place?
No. Machines don't make mistakes. Only men do. That's why a fully automated, mechanized deterrent like Peace Walker is needed. Once our system is embraced, Langley will again turn its attention to Latin America as the cockpit of the new Cold War. Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. Peace Walker will be deployed along Central America's entire Caribbean coast. All of North America, South America, and the West Indies will be within its range. We'll bring law and order to the entire continent.
And you'll still be calling the shots.
You still don't get it. The age of heroes is over, buried alongside the boss and her bankrupt beliefs. From now on, our only heroes will be machines. Surely no one understands that better than you. Except perhaps your partner. A deterrent for hire. An army without borders. You've invented a new system too, and an admirable one at that.
That's supposed to be an offer.
I'm not offering anything. If I'm to sell my
Did I forget something?
you and yours.
I don't know, what did I forget?
Go.
Wait. Colton, I have questions for him. Information critical to the completion of the Mammal Pod. Give him to me.
Don't waste too much time. We've just
What do you mean? I did package it.
The Salt 2 talks are on schedule. We will launch on time.
Snake, you are going to help me resurrect her.
Shut up! The boss is dead.
Bring him.
Snake then proceeds to fight off all the soldiers trying to take him, and he takes Strangelove's keycard from her. He is then taken by the soldiers to a torture chamber. After another dream about the boss's final moments, Snake wakes to find he's being tortured by Dr. Strangelove. She's demanding to know whether or not the boss truly defected. She's not believing that a hero like the boss would defect and betray her country, and Snake isn't really giving her an answer she likes, so she continues to torture him. She questions him about his scar, that he bears the exact same scar that the boss had. Strangelove says that she has a right to know what she died for, demanding that Snake say that the boss died for America. Snake is, however, firm in his belief that she died because she was a traitor and that she went to her grave cursing her country. Snake knows that Strangelove just wants to know this part of the boss's character so she can program that into the AI version of the boss. It's the final piece. He knows that the boss is dead. So Strangelove continues to torture Snake, and he passes out and wakes up later inside his cell. He needs to escape, and fast. And if he can't, well, then more torture awaits. Using Strangelove's keycard that he managed to grab earlier on, Snake escapes his confinement. He speaks with Miller, who says that Paz has gone quiet. Then Miller says that he was slightly suspicious of the professor and sent someone over to the school where Paz was staying. He explains that Paz was never there, despite saying that she was. Neither was the professor, for that matter. Snake asks Miller to try and see if he can get any information out of the KGB. Good thing is that while Snake has been out of action, nothing had happened in terms of Peace Walker. It's still in the hangar. He needs to destroy the AI. As a side note, after Snake had been imprisoned, Miller had sent one of the MSF soldiers to retrieve Snake's gear from the main hangar. All geared up again, Snake re-enters the hangar and sees Strangelove there with Coldman, and Coldman has Paz, calling her the culprit who led Snake and the MSF there. He states that the mammal AI pod is now complete, as is Peace Walker's activation sequence, and Strangelove says that Snake's silence was just what she needed in order to finish the AI, as the boss's mission was to be killed by Snake, and therefore she fulfilled her duty to the country in the end. Coldman says that he's already selected Peace Walker's initial target, Mother Base, and the winds will blow the fallout over the surrounding region, and crops will die, and the US will then mass-produce Peace Walker. Coldman states that a test is in order to show the White House that Peace Walker can travel the coast of the Caribbean on its own. He bangs on about US domination of communist and guerrilla-controlled territories for a bit, and how Peace Walker is the ultimate deterrent. He then says that other nations have risen up during the Cold War, such as India, France, and China, and now there's a nuclear arms race bubbling up. He cites this as the reason a deterrent is even more important now. And of course the Peace Walker project is the key to that. It'll bring calm to a restless world, controlled nukes as he puts it. A new Cold War. Coldman and Strangelove leave with Paz, and Peace Walker starts to activate. Back out on the outer platform, Snake watches as Peace Walker emerges. He fires a shot, and turns out this was a bad move, and Huey contacts him, telling him that Peace Walker is outfitted with a self-defense module. Since Snake shot at it, it's entered self-defense mode, and its highest priority target now is Snake. He now needs to get ready to fight this machine. Snake then fights Peace Walker, which is talking to him as the boss, meaning that he truly has to defeat her for a second time. Targeting weak points again, Snake is able to damage the AI pod, causing heavy damage to the Peace Walker. The battle is not won, however, as it springs back to life. A chopper shows up and fires upon it. A tense standoff occurs between Snake and Peace Walker. It then takes off after the chopper, on which are Coldman, Strangelove, and Paz. Snake jumps on his horse and tries to go after Peace Walker. Chasing Peace Walker through the woods, the boss, or rather her voice, keeps on telling Snake to go home. Approaching the border, Snake is thrown from his horse. He climbs the mountain and sees Peace Walker has gotten away, and his poor horse dies. Speaking with Miller, Snake tries to figure out what they wanted with Paz, to which Miller replies that she was with the professor, who of course is KGB. Coldman wants to know how the KGB are planning to stop Peace Walker. Saying that Paz won't know anything, they discuss whether or not Galvez is dead, but nonetheless they need to help Paz. Amanda joins the convo and says that crossing over into Nicaragua, she has managed to get help from a group called the Guerra Popular Prolongada, or the GPP. The GPP told her that Peace Walker was headed west, across the border, towards Lago Cocibolca. Miller says that ever since an earthquake, the US have had the entire region to themselves, and that is where Peace Walker must be, and where Coldman is going to launch the nuke from. Huey told them that the preparations to launch will take 2 days, not because of technical reasons, but because in 2 days, a US-Soviet summit will be taking place in Vladivostok, the location where the SALT II treaty talks are taking place. This treaty would see limits placed on the amount of nuclear delivery vehicles each side could have. Arriving at the US military base with the help of Chico, Snake needs to prevent Peace Walker from destroying the mother base, and by extension the MSF, by destroying Peace Walker. He infiltrates and has a chat with Miller. Snake says that they should evacuate Mother Base, but Miller and the MSF forces refuse, as they all believe in Big Boss and that he will stop the launch. Amanda and her rebels, however, have been taken to safety. Snake then begins to infiltrate the base, spotting drones and soldiers. Something is strange though. There are Soviet soldiers here on a US base. Heading for a communications tower, which Miller thinks is the location from which they will control Peace Walker, Snake sees a bunch of monitors.
Hans,
Snake,
can you hear me?
see, I can hear you.
Where are you?
I am not sure. I don't recognize it.
What about Coldman?
He just left for the control tower. Said something about entering the final data. What is the matter?
They found me.
Snake!
Gaz.
Snake, you okay? All MSF's ready to move out. They're headed your way on the double.
Are you serious?
There's a skeleton crew manning the base. Everyone else is en route to the base in Nicaragua. Snake, think you can make it to that control tower?
Not sure why, but this place is crawling with Russian troops. Gonna have to force my way through.
What the hell's going on?
Damned if I know.
Get over there quick as you can. You're almost there, Snake. Stay steady.
Snake,
I'm coming, Baz.
do not worry about me. I am an angel of peace. I will be watching over you.
Here goes nothing.
Snake goes after Coleman and heads to the control tower to the northeast. And fighting through the Russian soldiers and an attack chopper, he finally reaches the tower.
Snake!
Big Boss, you made it. Too late, though. The false data's already in place.
False data?
That's right. Peace Walker is designed for deterrence, nothing more. She is incapable of initiating a nuclear attack on her own. She will only awaken and attack when it's time to retaliate. Peace Walker is a weapon of peace, after all. First, we'll enter data for an imaginary Soviet nuclear strike on the US homeland. After assessing the data as a threat, Peace Walker will automatically enter retaliation mode, selecting the optimal target from a predefined list. For this scenario, we have reverse engineered the false data so that she'll inevitably end up choosing the Caribbean Sea as her target.
You're really gonna do it, aren't you?
Know this. Peace Walker's retaliation will be the first and last of the Cold War. It is the only way we will ever come close to achieving true peace. All that is left is to enter the code.
No! Stand down, Big Boss.
You're late.
Professor.
Professor?
Yes, well, taking over the base took longer than expected. But I brought the technology. What? You provided the money and land. Center alone could never have accomplished so much in so little time.
Zadornov, you backstabbing son of a...
Backstabbing? Correct me if I'm wrong, but were we not enemies all along? Do you really think my comrades were working for the company? Do you truly think we'd faithfully serve a pack of depraved capitalist dogs?
What are you going to do?
Launch a nuke. Target Cuba.
Have you lost your mind? What would you possibly gain?
We won't be the ones launching it. You, the Americans, will attack our ally, Cuba.
What?
Think, Coleman. We're on an American base, eagerly endorsed and supplied by a pro-American regime. What's the international community to think?
Yeah. What about it? Also, by the way, if you want, you can join the team.
Latin America unchecked. Let the age of deterrence be undone by
That's
the
easier for you.
deterrent itself. Such is the Kremlin's plan.
You son of a bitch!
Us, come here. Shoot him.
Hi.
I am Vladimir Zadornov, and Vladimir means ruler of peace.
Sure.
Now, do as you're told, us.
Don't do it!
Remember what they did to you at their base on the coast. For what Coleman's done, he deserves nothing
Oh,
less than
God.
death.
It's just petty.
Boss, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Truly a child of peace.
No, wait!
There we go.
Only fitting that retribution be delivered by a dead hand.
You missed
Oh, are you?
purpose.
I'm talking to the voices in my head.
Your part in this isn't done. I need
Of course I
you to
can't hear
And
you.
voices.
Doctor, the target is now Cuba. Please make the necessary modifications. And don't even think of resisting. I'll crush you, but only after I crush your beloved first.
No. Not that.
Cuba is now the retaliation target.
Very well.
Good. It is done. As for you, Big Boss, I've been watching you all along. You've performed beyond even my highest expectations. A true
I
commandant.
hope I'm the voices in your head, Kuma.
Hmm?
I hope I'm the voices in your head.
Why?
Because then someone will be thinking of me.
A true intelligence operative never gets his hands dirty. Need a revolution? Manipulate the locals into doing it for you.
You mean Amanda and the Sandinistas?
You've done well. You took a ragtag band of guerrillas, children, and shaped them into a full-fledged, formidable army. And now, you'll truly become our century's most complete human being.
Che Guevara?
None other. A hero who, gunned down by the CIA, becomes a legendary icon. The Sandinistas will rise up in revenge, overthrowing the pro-American regime and wresting Nicaragua from U.S. hands. And the nuclear strike on Cuba naturally would be the last straw.
Memo pod data entry is complete.
Dead at age 39, just like El Che. Ironic, isn't it? In the end, a legend is merely fiction. You'll die as the boss did, and become as did she, an eternal fraud.
Freeze!
Dare point your gun at a comrade?
We will not be pawns of the KGB. We will win our own victory!
Hasta la victoria siempre!
Amanda! We're home! Look! We're back in Nika! We did it, Amanda! I mean... Comandante!
Boss, you hurt? I'm fine.
Big Boss.
With the rebels basking in the glory of Big Boss, Zadornov is taken back to Mother Base. Snake thanks Amanda for saving his life just now and they hug. Paz is saved, Coleman is alive too. But Snake isn't done. He says that he needs to destroy the fake boss. He needs to destroy the AI. Strangelove shows up too and says that she didn't bring the boss back to life because she was being forced to, because she wanted to know how she really felt when it ended. She thanks Snake for stopping Coleman and Zadornov's plan, and she says sorry for torturing him. She then drives Snake over to Peace Walker. Meanwhile, Miller is consoling Paz aboard the chopper. He says that the army is leaving Costa Rica now as the mission is complete. She holds up 2 fingers as a peace sign, and Coleman, still injured, then does an incredibly stupid thing and inputs the code for the launch. Target: Cuba. This makes Peace Walker spring into life, and Miller warns Snake that launch is once again imminent. The problem is that NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, will think that this is a real Soviet nuclear attack and will respond accordingly. That is, if they respond accordingly. He hopes that the US will not respond, therefore proving that humans don't have what it takes to bring about death on that scale, therefore hammering home the need for an AI-driven machine like Peace Walker, which, with the boss's AI likeness, would retaliate, as that's what the mission is. Huey then contacts NORAD in Colorado, USA, who are already aware of something happening and that the data is reliable. Coleman says that he's the only one who knows the abort code, and then he dies whilst holding up the peace sign. Classic Coleman. The only way now is for Snake to destroy Peace Walker and the AI. Snake attacks the machine whilst it's inputting the data, and he manages to prevent the launch. But since he's attacked Peace Walker, its self-defense module means that Snake is now its main target again. If he fails to destroy it, then nothing will stop it. After another grueling battle, Snake defeats the machine.
It stopped moving. Snake, you did it! You stopped the launch!
Huey, how's NORAD?
Not good.
BMUS continues to track the targets on radar.
The SP satellite status is green. Still assessing as reliable.
Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, a representative of the Secretary of Defense and Congress have arrived at NMCC.
You've only damaged the drive system. The data uplink's still intact.
We've got 1,500 Soviet ICBMs crossing the North Pole. Target region is confirmed as the west coast of the United States.
Go to DEFCON 2. Prepare to launch ICBMs.
How do I make it stop?
Peace Walker is a fully autonomous system. Unlike the other machines you fought, its command authorities are all located inside its cerebrum, the mammal pod.
We've got to stop the mammal pod. I don't have the abort code either. Coleman was the only one.
Snake, destroy the AI inside the mammal pod.
The inner barrier protecting the mammal pod is designed to be as strong as a bomb shelter.
What's it gonna take to get through?
I guess an atomic bomb will do it.
You trying to be funny?
No, I'm telling you, that armor was designed to withstand a nuclear war.
We can't get through to the President. The decision is on us.
You can't be serious. There's no way I'm gonna wipe out the human race.
This is the President's call.
There's no time for that. We need a decision now.
Huey, call NORAD. We have to tell them the nukes aren't real.
I'll give it a shot.
Forget the order of succession. If we're all going to hell, let's take those bastards with us.
We have 12 minutes to impact, sir.
May God have mercy on our souls.
Jesus. Coleman guessed wrong. They're gonna go through with it!
The platform sustained a lot of external damage. All we need is some pressure.
Pressure?
Sink it in the lake. With that much water pressure, even the tiniest crack should be enough to flood the innards. The AI pod is a mass of highly sensitive electronics. Short the contacts and the signal will stop. How much does that thing weigh? 500 tons. It's hopeless. We can't move that thing.
Get NORAD on the phone.
Incoming MIRV warheads have separated.
Estimated time to impact now, 11 minutes.
Sir, we've got a call.
The President?
No, sir.
Then who?
He,
Spit it out!
He claims to be Big Boss. Big Boss? Patch him through.
Mr. Chairman, I'll get straight to the point. Cancel the retaliatory strike now.
What?
The radar blips you're seeing are all fakes. No one's launched any nukes.
How do you know?
The launch data is fake, part of an experiment that leaked. You weren't supposed to receive it. Your radar is showing missiles that don't exist.
If you're lying, then we've got 10 minutes till we're toast. We have to retaliate or more Americans die.
The experiment was planned and executed by the CIA station chief in Central America.
Then put him on!
He's dead. I can give you his name, though.
We need more than the authentication code you gave the switchboard. We need proof you're actually Big Boss. Do you have any?
All right. If you know the name Big Boss, then maybe you were there at the ceremony when I received the title from President Johnson.
Indeed I was.
We don't have time for this bullshit!
Hold it! Let's hear him out. You were saying?
At the ceremony, the DCI tried to shake my hand. I refused. What happened in that room is classified, top secret. Only a handful of people would know.
He's making it up. Don't listen to him.
Wait! Why did you refuse to shake his hand?
Because I knew where my loyalty belonged.
Everybody, listen to me. Those Soviet missiles are fakes.
What? You're actually going to believe him?
He's right. This is some sort of commie trick.
No, it's the real Big Boss. Trust me.
How can you know for sure?
Because I was the Army Chief of Staff back then, and I was standing right next to the DCI when it happened. I saw everything. You saved us all, Big Boss. We'll stand down the alert.
Thank you.
When we meet again, I hope you'll shake my hand. Oh! What are you doing?
Sorry, Chairman, but we are not standing down.
Damn it! Those worthless sacks of...
Wait.
Jack. Jack. Oh, it's opening. She's calling to you.
Destroy the mammal pod and the data will stop flowing.
Please, stop her.
Entering the pod, Snake removes all the modules from it. However, nothing happens. The data is bypassing the mammal pod. Snake is frustrated and out of options. Strangelove thinks that the boss's AI isn't doing this. It's the body of the machine. Snake wills himself to destroy Peace Walker completely and prepares to battle it again. Fighting the charred and battle-scarred remains of Peace Walker, Snake proceeds to completely destroy it. But it's just sat there, counting down. Then it gets up again. Something weird happens. The AI pod begins singing, and the boss then starts speaking, baffling absolutely everyone, since the AI had been destroyed. It's a ghost in the machine. The boss then takes Peace Walker into the water, drowning herself to stop the transmission. The fake Soviet missiles then disappear from the screen, and peace symbols show up all over the map of the world. Strangelove says that this is the fate that the boss chose for herself. War has been avoided. Snake and Miller then talk.
Snake, you still here? Come on. Let's go back.
I'm not going back.
Huh?
I'm done.
Snake, you don't mean...
I'm done looking for the truth.
What are you saying, Snake?
I was wrong.
Come on, boss.
Hey, Ellie.
Everybody's waiting for you.
I have a little problem within that story right now.
She what?
Which is?
My mouse is not visible.
I can see it.
She rejected her.
Yeah, on stream, but I can't see it.
What do you mean?
Well, is it full screen problem?
She abandoned
Oh no.
she was as a soldier.
I mean, I always had Windows Story in full screen.
Try putting it in windowed.
I won't make the same choice as her. My future is going to be different.
Well, yeah, now I can see it.
That's right.
Okay, so try borderless.
Full screen always on top also doesn't work. Maximize borderless just looks fucking ugly. It never was a problem, why is it suddenly now?
After everything is settled down again, Snake and Miller agree that Paz can stay with MSF at Mother Base, which of course is now called Outer Heaven. Paz says that she wants to help out. Snake does, however, tell Miller to keep an eye on her. Strangelove wants to go to the MSF too, and Miller says that she'd be a great asset to the R&D department. Zadornov, on the other hand, is a bit of a tricky prisoner to hold, as the guy keeps escaping via various methods, and Snake keeps on having to go out to find him, and then has to send him back to Mother Base again. In terms of Metal Gear Zeke, Huey contacts Snake and tells him that they managed to fit Zeke with his very own AI pod thanks to Dr. Strangelove. She insists that she will not give Zeke an AI like the boss's AI. What's more is that MSF managed to recover the nuclear warhead from Peace Walker, which was at the bottom of Lago Kosibolka. Miller says they couldn't just leave it there, as it could contaminate the water, or it could end up in the hands of terrorists. So they took it. MSF now have their own nuke, and despite Snake's initial unwillingness, the nuke is loaded onto Zeke. The MSF now have their own deterrent, and Snake says that if they are to become a world superpower themselves, they're going to need one. Since MSF needs recruits, and since there are still US soldiers in the area, Snake, or any other member of MSF for that matter, can go out and recruit others by Fultoning them out of there and to Mother Base. Snake also receives some tapes from Eva. They're really long, and they're basically recordings where Eva is explaining certain things that Snake may have had questions about, such as the boss's time before she defected, such as her going into space. After about the 7th time Zidornov escapes Mother Base, this time Snake finds him hiding by the shooting range.
Big boss!
Is done. What are you talking about?
V for victory. Rocket, peace.
Kaz, I found Zidornov. I had to kill him.
Huh. So much for a fugitive.
Something's not right here. I'm thinking he had a friend.
Someone inside MSF. Huh?
What's going on?
It's Zeke. It's moving.
What?
There's somebody inside. I can see them. Snake, get up here. Pronto.
Took you long enough, big boss.
Boss. Get down from there before you hurt somebody.
Maybe I want to hurt somebody.
What's going on? She's not herself.
Oh, I am myself, all right. My true self.
Kaz, shut that thing down.
I can't. The controls aren't responding.
Then how's it moving?
I made some modifications. This machine was meant to have a human pilot.
Modifications? Paz, what are you...
Never thought I'd be into machines, huh?
Then Zidornov's escape was a diversion.
Paz, what are you doing?
I'm taking it back.
Taking it back? Where?
To our leaders. To Cypher.
Cypher?
This weapon is Cypher's creation.
Paz, get down from there.
Do not call me that. I am Pacifica Ocean.
My name, my age, my mission.
Cypher gave them all to me. My entire life has but one purpose. To carry out Cypher's plan. The nasty tobacco. The angel of peace scrap. The whole teen with a dream routine. I am through with all of it.
Paz, you can't.
I told him not to call me that. It makes me want to puke. Everything is going exactly as we planned.
Now the real Peace Walker project is finally about to reach its goal.
The real project?
Unable to come to terms with their sorrow, they each decided to carry on the will of their hero. But they could not agree on what that meant.
Okay, now it works.
They became bitter enemies.
Hits.
And the zero
Yeah, that was the problem. Because...
split into two.
Never mind. It stopped working again.
On the wrong path ever since. There is no happily ever after waiting.
As soon as I do the first click, it's gone.
Unless you obey the will of
Do you have a controller plugged in?
No. Like I said, like it was working fine earlier.
I don't know.
World without borders.
The Cold War order is about to collapse. The age of electronic intelligence is about to begin. The NSA, CSS, NRO, DIA, etc., etc. The intelligence community that is long bigger amongst itself will be united in a world governed by electrons. Cypher will gather all information, watching over the world and guiding the will of its people, all while they remain blissfully unaware. There will be no one to oppose them. For the first time, the world will be ruled by a single will. Until the new order is in place, you and your army will be the force that protects it. You will be Cypher's deterrent, pulling the wool over the eyes of the old order with your charisma and military prowess. Accept our offer, and we will allow you to retain control of MSF and Zeke.
That's an offer.
The boss threw down her gun, and with it, her life's calling. You, her disciple, have never been able to do that. You are too afraid to let go.
I was made to fight. I am a gun.
Is that so? Then what do you call this? Is it a gun too? You are a lousy liar. Admit it. This thing is a monstrosity, a product of your own fear. But not Cypher. Cypher thought of something different. Cypher's going to control guns.
Control guns?
That is right. Not deter, control. It is the ultimate approach to the illusion of peace.
Control power. You're gonna be disappointed.
Then we are done. Thank you for playing. Better luck next time. The offer is rescinded. And now the ultimatum. Zeke is already in nuclear strike mode.
What?
I'm taking the weapon you built and using it to launch a nuclear strike on the east coast of the United States.
You're insane. What are you after?
But wait, here is your consolation prize. We are about to show the world just how dangerous a gang of outlaws, an army without borders can be. You and your men will become pariahs, and you will be wiped off the face of the earth. Rather than heroes, you will be seen as a well-armed extremist cult prone to indiscriminate outbursts of nuclear aggression. You will give rise to a new world order, an age of deterrence defined by its fear of extremist cult influence. Do you like the picture I am painting, Big Boss? When all is said and done, peace is nothing but a fantasy. A game is a game. You either win or you lose. All you can do is fight. Stop me if you can. The peace sign is the V of victory. Say, peace.
As you probably guessed, Snake now has to destroy Zeke and stop Paz. So, they fight. As you've just heard, Snake declines Cypher's offer. However, Cypher have an insurance policy, but we won't get to that until much later in the story. Anyway, after another long battle, Snake defeats Paz and Zeke.
It is no use. Zeke is out of my control. This is where it ends. Listen to me, Big Boss. As long as your army is needed, the world will never know true peace. The peace you will know will be fleeting, elusive. They will use you, disgrace you, and then finally discard you like they would a cancer to society. This is the path you have chosen.
Zeke is then taken back to be repaired, and Paz is presumed dead after she was thrown from Zeke and into the water. Huey then approaches Strangelove. She says that the AI can eventually be salvaged as she made a backup. Huey wanted to ask her something, if she despises him or not. She takes that as him asking her out, and Huey blushes. She comes on to him, telling him to walk with her, and she says that she'll be waiting for him. Meanwhile, an interesting conversation takes place between Snake and Miller.
That name Paz mentioned at the end, Cypher. It's a code. It means empty. It also means...
Zero.
A world of electronic intelligence, built on codes. And at the center of it all, a zero.
Cause...
Good question. Does this video also go over the good Metal Gear Solid games?
Which ones? You mean Acid?
Survive.
Shut the fuck up. No, it's not.
It
said in the beginning, for obvious reasons, they're not gonna cover Survive.
I owe you an apology. Hear me out, okay?
Sure.
That's my favorite.
I knew Paz and the professor. I knew who they really were all along.
Cause...
I used them.
I suppose you were the one that brought them to Columbia in the first place, huh?
Guilty as charged. Paz wasn't just CIA, you know. She was working for the KGB too. And for this Cypher group. In other words, she was a triple agent.
You knew all of this?
Wait, let me finish. Listen. MSF never would have gotten this big if it weren't for them. This mercenary business we built. Someday it's gonna be a new driving force in the world economy.
Is that your goal all along?
The Cold War is not gonna last forever. Sooner or later it's gonna give way to an era of regional conflicts and terrorism. A paradigm shift from counter-communism to counter-terrorism. In the new age, armies won't be tied to states, and war will become a business. We'll be a valuable commodity. There'll be clients all over the world who need our services. MSF is only the beginning. What we're creating here is a revolution in itself. Am I right?
Cuz, it's not going to be that easy.
What do you mean?
This whole Peace Walker thing has left our mark on the history of the Old Order. We've put ourselves on the radar of intelligence agencies and governments east and west. The whole world probably knows about us now.
Including that Cypher outfit.
We've let ourselves interfere with the times, with the Cold War system of deterrence. We're an army without a flag. We weren't supposed to take sides in international affairs, but we did.
I see your point. So what happens to us now?
We'll be hunted.
Not everybody's gonna be happy with us, huh?
You're damn right. We upset the global military balance of power.
And these people would rather our army without borders not exist at all?
They're gonna come knocking real soon. There's no turning back now. We're a wrench in the old system of deterrence. As long as the times refuse to change, we're gonna make a hell of a racket.
Then who are we gonna fight?
The establishment. Anybody who tries to restore the old balance wants to snuff us out of existence.
Which establishment?
It won't be a particular country or ideology that hunts us.
Who then?
We are going to be fighting the biggest beast of all. The Times. 10 years ago, the Times rejected the boss and killed her. And now, we're the ones being tested. Will the Times erase us? Or work with us? It's gonna be a lonely battle. No good or evil. No winners or losers. Business will have to wait. The question we have to ask ourselves now is, can we survive long enough to see the 21st century?
I'm with you, boss. We'll see how it turns out together.
The hunt is on, Kaz. And the whole world's on our tail. Assemble the men.
And that brings to a close the Peace Walker incident. So remember the Fox unit? Well, in the 60s, Fox had a support unit called XOF. XOF was the unit that went in after Snake to clean up during Snake Eater. After Fox got disbanded in the wake of Operation Snake Eater due to Zero having obtained the full Philosopher's Legacy.
Okay, we're about 2 hours in. Still have like 6 to go in the video.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm calling it quits here for the day. It's late. And yeah, maybe I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow. Like, rimworld's fucked. I'm gonna try to repair it. I don't even know what went wrong this time. And if not, then I'll think of something. Maybe I'm gonna like continue Death Stranding. Because I have like...
That was on your back burner.
Hmm?
That was on the back burner for you.
Death Stranding?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started it at some point, but didn't continue. And I only have like, it's April right now, like 2 months time to play it. Before Death Stranding 2 comes out. So yeah, there's that. And if I'm not gonna play Death Stranding or rimworld tomorrow, then I probably will do some VR again.
Ooh.
Maybe even with you.
Or?
Hmm? What?
I'm invited.
I didn't say that.
I'm potentially invited.
I hinted at it.
My invitation was hinted.
Considered.
Considerably hinted.
Shut up now. I see you all tomorrow. Good night.
Bye bye.